The leather bags of this brand have become an etalon of style and a symbol of success. Everybody wants a Louis Vuitton bag. But what about their fragrances? In fact, they have many perfumes in their collection, but do they represent luxury and style the same way their bags do? Let's see together. Depending on the collection, the prices of the perfumes vary from 260 to 480 euros per bottle, and that already excludes a lot of people and makes these fragrances exclusive. But let's see which fragrances are really worth it. I have already worn these fragrances at least once, so this will not be a first impression video. Actually, I never do those, but this will be a video where I will share my experience and my impressions. So I will start with a fragrance that excited me the most, and this one is called Étoile Filante, a falling star. The official description has my very favorite notes. This is a really good example of marketing. The description of this fragrance is so magnificent, but in reality it smells like eating strawberries in a laundromat. In fact, strawberries are not a part of the official description, but they are listed on Fragrantica. And I tried this fragrance even before reading the notes, and I was like, strawberry, interesting. This is not a kind of note I associate with something luxurious. I usually associate strawberry with cheap sprays for little girls. So then this strawberry develops into something floral that reminiscently reminds you of jasmine and osmanthus. But that fresh and vibrant Chinese magnolia, I never found this one in here. At the end, I really enjoyed the dry down of this fragrance. It smells really, really nice on my skin. And I like that osmanthus with a bit of jasmine and even some peaches and apricots in here. It's just so delicate, feminine. The only problem is that it's already the time that the fragrance is dying and it really stays just so close to my skin. I can imagine this fragrance being a nice option in the summer for a young woman who has a job at the office and then she has a nice date or a cocktail after work, because this aldehyde freshness with a touch of strawberry and florals is not offensive and really appropriate for the office, and then it turns into something really nice and sensual that is really appropriate for a date, I think. But for me, this is a pass, unfortunately. I cannot have a fragrance that I dislike for 5 hours and then I'm crazy about the dry down for an hour or so. The second one I'm going to talk about is called Attrape-Rêves, Catching Dreams. And this one is probably my favorite out of all the samples I have. And unfortunately, I don't have all the samples of Louis Vuitton that are currently available for sale. Attrape-Rêves is actually a very simple perfume, and this is a mix of peonies and lychee. I'm certainly going to keep this sample and use it this summer because the combination of peonies and lychee is probably one of my favorite combinations for summertime. And I'm so happy that I cannot feel a lot of roses and amber and patchouli in here. Cacao is also not a very obvious note in here. It's just very simple and light and summery. Another fragrance that is also very simple is called Cœur Battant, a heart beating. This one is made for lovers of narcissus. And despite that you have some other florals in the pyramid, narcissus is really the king of the show in here. This is really the case when narcissus is enjoying itself. I was expecting that it would sound a bit more mature because of the presence of patchouli and ylang-ylang, but I cannot say that. It's really narcissus that knows no age limits. It could be good for young girls or it could be good for older ladies. Doesn't really matter. You just have to love that narcissus as much as he loves himself in this fragrance. Another perfume that is made for rose lovers is called Les Sables Roses, Pink Sands. And this one is a classical combination of rose and oud. Sometimes I can handle rose in this combination when there's not too much of rose, but here it's not the case. There's a lot of rose. And on top of it, this is a Bulgarian rose, which I find to be the most rosy and the most annoying kind of rose. But if you're a fan of a Bulgarian rose, you will appreciate this fragrance fully. The other condition is that you must be a lover of oud. And I am a lover of oud, but I don't like the way oud sounds in here. It is overly sweet, lacks that woodiness and depth that I like in agar wood. As I said, I like the combination of rose and oud sometimes, but I like when it's a colder combination. Even ambergris, pepper and saffron don't change that sweetness and simplicity. The oud fragrances of Louis Vuitton are designed as unisex, but as I have already mentioned, Les Sables Roses has sweet roses, and therefore I find it more appropriate for ladies. The fragrance that I think is better for gentlemen is called Ombre Nomade, Nomad Shadow. The distinguishing element of this particular perfume is incense. And this incense is very masculine in my opinion. On my skin it takes the direction of what I call matière fécale, but I think it might sound very interesting on gentlemen, because that incense reminds me of burning fire. And then the sweet elements, they come into play in a very interesting way without making that fragrance sweet. Raspberry is put in the description as one of the main elements, but I don't get much raspberry in here. When it comes to florals, the roses here are not very bright, but at the same time saffron and geranium give an interesting leather accord in here. And because of that incense, leather also sounds like burned leather. So imagine oud with burnt leather and the fireplace. This is what I get in here. And I find it more appropriate for older gentlemen that are more mysterious and serious types. And the last oud fragrance that I have in here is called Fleur du Désert, a flower of a desert. And this one is made for lovers of honey, because honey and orange blossom, they sweeten agarwood in here. But the pyramid is not really done properly. Honey is not a top note. Honey comes out right away together with orange blossom and oud, and these three notes dominate for a while. And cinnamon comes into play a bit later. It's adding to that sweetness, continuing all the way down. And at the end, you get mostly oud and cinnamon, but in the combination with some ambers that are produced in laboratories. And I have noticed that these modern ambers in combination with oud and jasmine create something unusual. Even experts are confused very frequently, thinking that there is patchouli and musk, because there are some sharp edges. Fleur du Désert is probably the fragrance I appreciated the most out of all ouds of Louis Vuitton. First of all, the rose in here is on the background. It never really comes into full bloom. But the main reason I liked it is because it reminds me of a desert. Somewhere between sweet notes of honey and cinnamon and oud that also becomes very sweet, I catch that wind of the desert. Very hot, a bit spicy. And just from the creation point of view, this is really 10 out of 10. I am not sure I'm ready to invest in a full bottle, but I think my sample will run out very fast this September or October. I have one more oud fragrance that I actually was not planning to include into this video because I truly hate it, but I decided to include it still, despite my very strong negative opinion. I thought I'd share it with you. The fragrance is called Myriad. It can attract lots of lovers of roses and oud, especially the combination of roses and oud. But I should warn rose lovers that despite that we see lots of roses in the middle of the pyramid, this is not really a rosy perfume. I would say that saffron is much stronger. So it's more of a saffron amber fragrance that doesn't really smell like oud so much. Like these modern ambers produced in laboratories, I call them amber masks. They are very tricky and it really depends in which direction you try to pull them. And I notice that very frequently when these ambers are pulled into oud direction, I catch something that makes me think of feces. It's really not the first time. But here, this disgusting element is really strong. And I think some people don't feel it because these modern amber masks are perceived very differently. I don't even want to comment it further. I absolutely did not expect to like it. And this one is called Symphony by Louis Vuitton. And the reason I like it is because it does not smell just like a mix of lemon, grapefruit and ginger to me. It smells like carambola. I don't know if you know that fruit. It is very crunchy, acid like citrus, but it has a nice tropical vibe. So this is really the note that I'm getting in here. The amazing part about this fragrance is that it's heat tolerant. I especially see wearing it to a beach party during the day when you know it's gonna be hot and everybody's gonna be sweating and you need something refreshing. It is not offensive, but it has a very good level of intensity that allows you to impress people, and surprisingly it has really good longevity. So when you show up at that party, you're gonna radiate that wonderful citrusy smell that is not a typical citrus, and I think everybody would wish to know what you're wearing. Louis Vuitton did prepare something for those who don't like impressive perfumes and tend to go for skin-like fragrances, and this one is called Cosmic Cloud. When I smelled it, I immediately identified it as a musky fragrance, but I could not go beyond it. In fact, the description on Fragrantica is absolutely wrong. The official description on the website of Louis Vuitton includes only 2 notes, musk and tonka beans. I didn't really feel tonka beans either, but the description that they have absolutely makes sense. Listen to this. The fragrance is a nectar of musks, with their many powdery, fruity facets that linger endlessly against the skin. And this is what Cosmic Cloud is. It's just something difficult to catch, something close to your skin, something that doesn't really project, but when you smell your skin, it smells beautifully. There is something powdery, there is something fruity, and this is a nice modern musk. I don't get anything animalic in it. And it's hard to decide, is it simple, is it complex? But I tell you that it's really made for those who appreciate good quality musk fragrances. The next fragrance is made for those who like to create the sense of cleanness with the soapy perfumes. And this one is called Stellar Times. The official notes are amber, orange blossom, and Peru balsam. But in reality, it's really hard to understand what this fragrance is about. When I first smelled it, the opening was kind of promising. It smelled like orange blossoms swimming in a glass of gin. There's something boozy, and that orange blossom that I'm usually not a big fan loses its sweetness in that booziness. And this is something that intrigued me, and I was wondering where would it go further. And then I was waiting for something to come up, and this something never came up. The fragrance started disappointing me when soapy notes started getting stronger and stronger, and they really get pretty strong towards the dry down. Also, I would say that this is one step towards masculine direction rather than feminine, but can work for many ladies as well. When I opened the box of my samples, one of the fragrances that I smell in the general aura in here is actually one of my favorites. It's called Rhapsody. And I don't know why I catch particularly this fragrance from the box. Maybe because I like it the most, or maybe because it's higher on the level of its intensity. In any case, the fragrance is actually super unique. I have difficulty comparing it to anything else. And the part that is the most unique about it is the notes that normally would not be the notes that I like, and how much I actually like it. The opening of this perfume made me think of some herbs that normally would not be something I'd go for. And I was thinking that could be a combination of thyme and eucalyptus and rosemary and mint. But all those herbs, they are sweetened. That was my first impression. Then I continued smelling it and trying to go further as the notes were opening up. And this herbal element started diminishing and something floral earthy started coming up. At this point, I was still very confused about the notes. So this earthiness starts getting more of a woody character. And I'm like, okay, this is really interesting. But that sweetness continues. It goes on and on and on. The next day, I decided to wear the fragrance on my skin. And when I was wearing it on my skin, I thought, that is amazing. I get some whiffs of coconut. So I'm like, okay, this sweetness is coconut. And you know, when you put the coconut sunscreen, it has a bit of a smell of alcohol. And this is a kind of alcohol, sweet coconut mix that I'm getting in here. And then I finally went to see the description. And I'm like, okay, this does make sense. Oak moss and mate. Yes, this combination does make sense. Most people on Fragrantica voted for this as white floral fragrance. I could not agree with that. Yes, there is a strong jasmine element in here, but this is not a typical jasmine or a typical floral perfume. I also see why some people catch patchouli and catspaw in here. So it's really hard to speak about these notes that they sound disgusting and to say that I really like this perfume. This is why it's so unique. And it has an interesting effect on me. It makes me feel calm, confident, yet kind of sexy. I really think that Rhapsody is probably one of the most unique creations of Louis Vuitton. One thing that you need to be aware is that the notes of Fragrantica are Rhône and the official notes are Ylang Ylang, Mate and Vetiver. The funny thing is that even the official notes will not give you an idea from where that sweetness is coming. If you tried this fragrance, please let me know what you think about the sweet elements. And I have 2 samples left, and these are 2 fragrances that are designed for men only. One of them is Imagination and the other one Immensité. To be honest, I don't want to comment these fragrances, not because they're for gentlemen, but just because I did not really like them, I did not find them interesting, and I certainly did not find them chic. If there are some men watching this video, let me know what you think about these 2. As for me, I would not wish my man to wear any of the 2.